it's great that we start from the new year, then everybody has a fresh start. So I don't believe that everybody should just start in the new year. That's why I asked Donna, were you watching videos? Were you doing something during the new year? Hey, I do want you to be a little bit more interactive just because I want to know what everybody's doing in the new year and what you aspire to do in the upcoming year. So there's some updates of what's going on in the market. And at the same time, we're not speculators. I do want you to have strategies that fit your goal and help you reach your goal in the coming year. And before I get started with the content, just a few housekeeping items. I do want to see your camera on. I'm very excited to see everybody's faces. So thank you, Donna, to be the first one to have your camera on. And Hillary and Zen and Christoph, maybe your coworkers can join us too. Perfectly fine. We're here to share our knowledge and share the energy at the same time. Before I get started, as much as I want to give you everything, I do want to be as knowledgeable as my lawyers. However, I don't expect myself to be the smartest person in the room. By the way, your feedback actually helped me understand what you're really here for, what you want to learn from us. And there's a lot of things we're offering here at Trust Your Talent. And I see that there are a few existing students in the room besides Donna. Waddy, if you're driving, when it's safe, turn your camera on. Bernard, and I see John Kitchener, I assume that's where you are. So if you do have the opportunity to turn your camera on, actually, I wish this is live, and I'll invite you to my house, and we'll just do it here. For those of you who are not able to come to Toronto, then for sure, join us virtually. If you happen to be in Toronto, come visit me, and perhaps we'll just do this live while other people see us online and how much fun we're having here. So I mentioned that as much as I want to be your power team member and everything to you, I do suggest that you go to a lawyer, an accountant, a mortgage broker who are licensed, and they can give you the most updated information. I can tell you, I just talked to a mortgage broker today. Even though I've been doing this for a few years, there's still always new things to learn. So even though you are already in the community, I appreciate that you're here and you want to learn about what's new in the market. At the same time, this is not just about my opinion. And even though we're here to check your blind spot, you're also here to gain knowledge. You must be wondering, why is it so overwhelming when it comes to real estate? At the same time, there is a system. And today we're going to talk about how to scale your portfolio. I do want you to see that there are possibilities. There's no one answer fit everybody's goals and your whys. So reach out to your mortgage broker, accountants, and lawyers. Who else do I have on my power team or you want to have on your power team that I didn't list here?
Property managers.
Property managers. Exactly, property managers. And give me another one that's important to have on your power team. There's so many. Realtor. Yes. Is there any realtor in the room, by the way? Not today, surprisingly. Sometimes we have one or two realtors in the room that could probably give us an update of the market they're focusing on. And I learned something new today. I do want to share. By the way, can anybody share a book that you're reading right now or one that you just finished?
I think it was called Financial Freedom by Michael Blank. He talked about multifamily as an asset class. Very inspiring book.
Action plan. That's a good one. Okay, the reason I brought this up, John, give me another one.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh, I love that one. And I appreciate that it's all adult here, so we can use the F word, etc. Yes, I love that book too. By the way, there's a workbook that goes with that book. I love it. And at the same time, Hillary, I also have a book called Financial Freedom, the Royal Way. And as a lady, you might want to be loyal like a queen, like a princess. The point is, you're here to reach financial freedom. So you can decide what you want to do with your life. And by the way, I understand that we emphasize how important your community is. Do you go to your friends who happen to invest in real estate and ask for advice? Can be completely honest. You can just give me a nod. You do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do you ask for advice or feedback? I know some of us are still working. Christoph, for example, do you ask for feedback or advice from your peers?
Yeah, all the time.
Perfect. Then you're coachable. You're open to learning. I love that. However, this is something I learned from the book Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. I just want to share that with you because it resonates with me so much about mentors. Perhaps your peers are always cheering you up. I do that. I do that for my friends because I love them. I want them to hear the positive feedback. However, if that's all you hear, you're gonna be complacent one day. You totally understand that. And that's why. At the same time, I will always ask for your feedback as well. Perhaps you're telling me, Brooke, you're doing a horrible job. Or at the same time, you're already in the community and you want to cheer me on. However, even though I've done this for a while, sometimes it still hurts when people criticizes me, especially when people don't put their name out there. There's a lot of people putting on comments. And there's a lot of naysayers out there. And from what I see from the screen, perhaps they're your family members. At the same time, it could be really hurtful. And you have to be confident enough in what you're doing. What I'm saying is, you don't want to be surrounding yourself with all the negative people. At the same time, you want people to be honest. You don't want to be complacent, always hearing the encouraging words. And that's why we're here. The mentors are supposed to tell you the good and the bad in your blind spot, what you're not seeing. And being a mentor for a while and speaking in front of you for a period of time now, I realized that, yes, that's so true. And there's no better way of describing what a mentor is there for you. You want to hear the good and the bad, and you want to be coachable. I don't see any Asian faces there besides Catherine. Totally fine. I put a famous saying there. It's in Chinese. Basically, it's telling you that if you're not the smartest person in the room, ask somebody's help to plan it. Ask somebody who's really smart to be there, to guide your team, to lead your team. And if you're not the smartest person, or if there's somebody who doesn't have the smart and they're really strong, use their strength. If there are people who are really brave, use their courage. And if you're surrounding yourself with somebody who doesn't have the courage and always being really careful, these are the people who are usually the analyticals. They help you to be really careful and tell you what you shouldn't be doing. And in the end, you have to utilize your power team and make the decision yourself. That's the whole point. That's why you have your power team. And I think that is so powerful, regardless of what strategy you decided to focus on at this point. And I understand it's the beginning of the year. We're all so pumped. So I will start from still the fundamentals. A lot of the times, it's really how strong your mind is. And funny thing is, people who are vulnerable are usually the most courageous people. And it's not easy. It's never easy. And even though we think we've seen everything in the market, that's not always the case. It's always changing. We're just training ourselves to pivot, to change. And I think that's our superpower as entrepreneurs, as real estate investors. So we're going to start from the fundamentals. Market always changing. I'm just going to give you some examples as to what information you could be looking at when you decide on what market to get into. Force appreciation, really, if everything is ready for you to purchase and you have all the resources in the world, you probably wouldn't be here. You probably wouldn't need to learn from us. So we're going to talk about how you force appreciate, take control. We kept saying that we're not speculators. We're here to learn, to be seasoned investor, to solve problems. And the next thing is to scale your portfolio. Again, the topic today is from 0 to 10 properties in 2 years. I'm giving you the numbers to show you that it is doable. I'm not saying that you're limited to 10, or if you can reach your financial freedom goal with 2 properties, totally fine. The point is, what is it gonna do for you in your life? And how do we scale as investors? And even if you have resources by yourself, a lot of people realize that If you want to run far, you have to run with a team or with a group. Actually, a lot of new students coming to us, depending on where you are in your life. When you're a little bit senior like myself, perhaps you have accumulated some mortgage ability, you have saved us some money. And I'm very fortunate in Ontario and some of you in BC as well. You see appreciation. However, at one point, you're still capped. You get 1 or 2 properties, you're not sure how you can scale. Okay, and then we're going to talk about key players on your power team. Actually, throughout the presentation today, I will go through who are going to be on your power team. And it really depends on how you structure your business. Some people are really good at being an expert in their market. At the same time, some of us are still working. Christoph, Donna, I see your faces on the screen. Keith, perhaps you're still working. If that's the case, perhaps you don't have as much time to be an active investor. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. If you show me one deal, I can show you numerous ways to structure the deal. It really depends on what resources you have. And as much as I want to give you everything, I will give you the fundamentals. Asked to give you an example to see the possibilities. You have to see it, believe it, hear it, to get yourself started. Because I'm not here to tell you that everything will go smoothly. So I appreciate you turning on your camera again. I see Bernard, I see Charlie, Nina, Tommy, and Savory. All of you on my screen. If you're able to turn on your camera, make sure you do. Like Hillary, like Zan, like Christoph, like Keith, like John, have your camera on. Like Donna, who is my first participant today. So you can totally get the slides today. Reach out to your strategy coaches to get the slides. If you read it, you hear it, I appreciate that you're here with me today. Because by reading it, by hearing it from me, and looking at the slides as we go through, already you're learning 30%. However, my goal is to help you reach 100%. So you can tell your spouse, tell your friend what you learned today. When you review it, and for myself, even when I teach it, I realize there's so much I'm also learning from you. If I'm not able to explain it to a 5th grader, it's on me. Tell me if it's getting too complicated, if I'm not making myself clear. My goal is to show you that anybody could do this, regardless of your age, regardless of what you're doing right now, your occupation, etc. So if you're willing to do it and say it out loud, that's when you gain 90% of the knowledge and actually know what is going on. So we're all action takers at Trust Your Talent. I know that there are some students here, as you can see, or go to our website. Our goal is for all the students to take action and reach your financial freedom goal within 5 years. So usually 2 to 5 years. How do you get to the last 10%? Really, I want you to have fun. If it's too boring, I can see that in your face. You cannot hide it, even though you're an adult. I want you to have fun like you're a 5-year-old. Really have fun here. There's no pressure. And when you're really out there to make mistakes, those are gonna be really expensive and costly mistakes. Ask questions. You can make mistakes here. So I wanna make you feel like you're a real investor going through the deal. Simulate what's gonna happen, what's really going on. I appreciate the participation. So far, I see everybody on the screen are listening carefully to what I'm about to say. To get you started, be your own accountability partner to start. If you really need somebody else to be your accountability partner, we do that within the community too. I do want to hear how you think you're going to make 2024 a better year than 2023. Could I have a couple volunteers? Tell me how you're going to make it a better year. Or can I volunteer somebody? Keith.
Hi, Brooke. Hi, everyone. How am I going to make 2024 about a year? I've just started the courses here, so I'm hoping 2024. 2023 was a great year. My I got married, my daughter was born. So 2024 will be tough to beat it. But you know, financially, I'm working. I've got a good job. I don't want to quit my job, but I do have an eye, you know, on the future and having a lot more time, hopefully, in a few years to spend with my daughter, and you know, just live instead of work. So my plan is to complete these courses,
Mhm.
you know, attend these seminars, and then put into action what I learn. And I love the
Love that.
idea of having 10 properties in 2 years. So
That's great. So are you part of TYT already?
yeah, I joined just before Christmas.
Nice. Have you seen your intro video yet?
No, we haven't made it. We were sick as dogs over Christmas, so we didn't get a chance to.
Okay, so I look forward to that.
Okay.
And I'll just have one more person sharing. Zen, how do you plan to have a better year this year? Are you able to unmute yourself? If not, I'll give you some time. Hillary, what's your plan to have a better 2024?
So I really resonated with what you said, Brooke, about having people in your team who raise your energy. I figured out in the past year that a lot of people in my social circle are very conservative. I'm pretty risk averse. My family, most of my friends. So my biggest goal for 2024 is to surround myself with other entrepreneurs and other people who are rebels and not afraid to break things and change things. So just to meet new people, get out there more and break things. That's what I like to do.
Love it. Which city are you in?
All over. Pretty nomadic. I live part of the time in Toronto, part New York, part Florida. So
Nice.
get around a lot.
Okay, so you're in the East Coast. Just to put it out there, we're gonna have a networking event coming up next weekend. So if you can join us, we'd love that.
Thank
Would
you.
love that. Thank you. And I do want to say that, yes, if you look at the data lately, you can hear a lot of negative voices, like you said. And I pulled the data to say, yes, that is the case. And it is true that more and more people are living paycheck to paycheck. I don't always listen to news. Do people listen to news or go online? Not a lot. So I guess we're surrounding ourselves with positive energy. At the same time, I mentioned that, yeah, we're problem solvers. And I've seen my tenants or people who are aging. They don't have enough savings to retire. And for the courses I'm teaching, I constantly look for new data. I can tell you when I started teaching, there were only 50% of people living paycheck to paycheck. And I pulled the latest data, is now 63%. At the same time, by the way, I'm still working. I realize a lot of young people, they're holding more than one job. There are people holding 3 jobs to make sure they can support their lifestyle or just basic needs. However, that's on the negative side. I'm asking if there are realtors in the room because most of the economists out there or data from the banks or Real DePage or Remax, if you're a realtor, they're predicting that next year, well, this year, 2024, will be a better year. The number is not consistent in terms of how much growth we'll see. However, the trend is consistent because of what we saw earlier. People are suffering. What does that mean? People are not spending. And if that's the case, inflation should be under control. Again, I'm not a speculator. I'm just basing it on what's out there. So based on the data from Royal DePage, Canadian Real Estate Board, RBC, TD, I know BMO, etc., they also have their own data. And I do appreciate it if you see the data and you want to share with a group or share with me. Everybody is seeing a trend of interest rate eventually going down because people are already tightening their spending. So if that's the case, I do hope 2024 is going to be better for everybody. 2023, everybody was saying that it's time to purchase, it's time to buy, because you buy when the market is low. However, as investors, you're always going to be active. Perhaps you purchase in 2023, you want to sell in 2024. So the outlook for 2024 or even 2025 is going to be slightly better. At least that's what everybody is saying. This is not what Brooke is saying. I'm basing my information on the data I collected. Regardless, the point is, doesn't matter which way the market is going, up, down, sideways. There are strategies out there for you to make money as an investor. And it's not going to be easy. It's never easy. And I think it's easier now. We're in the community, we're supporting each other. So if your why is strong enough, I know some of you are already students, make sure you watch the core courses. And before you come on the mentorship, finish your homework, finding your why, set your goals. If you're not sure what your goals are, it's totally fine. There are a few things you can look at to help you set your goals, or at least say what you want to focus on. So the core value, I trust your talent, health, sustainability, joy, fulfillment, impact. And you don't have to reveal the information to me. However, if you have pen and paper, write down what you're going to focus on this year. I can tell you when I started as a trainer, as a mentor, I trust your talent. My goal was to have fun. Then I realized I want to make an impact. However, I do want to have fulfillment because I realized that I know that I truly made an impact if I feel fulfilled, if I see you have results. And I can tell you for some of us on the team, if something happens in life, if somebody close to you had health issue, perhaps this year you want to focus on health. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'm just giving you some guidelines if you're not sure what you want to focus on this year. By the way, your goals, your why might change. However, don't change the big goal. I know Keith mentioned that you want to have more time. If that's your big goal and things change, market change, or something happen in life, you pivot, but you don't change where you aim. And Catherine, can you help me pull out the poll? And this perhaps will help you get a little bit of clarity. Tell me what is stopping you from going further, getting closer to your goals. The result is changing as we speak. Catherine, can we share the results? Can everybody see it now? Yes? When we started the poll, everybody was saying fear was number one, like 40%. As most of you putting your answers in, now you're here to get educated, to learn. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to give you a round of applause if you choose fear, because I think that actually means you're courageous, because you're being vulnerable. You're admitting that, hey, we're not perfect. And even if you've been in the game for a while, there's always fear, because there's always uncertainty. So the information I'm going to provide today, the education, it's evergreen. However, reach out to your mentor, or if you don't have one yet, your strategy coach, to understand what you need to do. And you know, the funny thing is, because you're in the community now, a lot of the times before you start the mentorship, you probably already see opportunities out there, or you see what other students are doing. That's totally fine. Before you get the knowledge, perhaps there's a lot of fear. And I do think the support is more important than the knowledge itself. Because again, there's a lot of information out there on YouTube. If you haven't watched everything that we have provided at Trust Your Talent, there's even a lot of free content out there. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, we're going to occupy your time, because we want to make sure you can eliminate fear. And give me any questions. We've heard a lot of objections or perhaps negative people surrounding you. And can I share something else that just reminded me something I learned lately? Empathy and sympathy. A lot of the times you're thinking that, actually it's from Michelle Obama. I'm not taking the credit. She was saying that you're thinking, I don't want to let people go in my life because I want to pull them up together with me. At the same time, a lot of the times you both will drown if you're not strong enough. So I think it makes perfect sense. If you're the one who's strong and get the knowledge and be an example, when you're at that stage or when you reach financial freedom, You can then pull other people up. However, if people are dragging you down, make sure you're strong enough and build yourself up first. You don't have to agree with me. Something I do want to share because it resonates with me. At the same time, somehow it's related to real estate because you need the support. There's a lot of the time things are not going to go according to plan. And that's why you want to be in the community and always get the most updated information. I know a lot of you are already existing students. At the same time, why not share the wealth with everybody else? You know, as I reach my financial freedom goal, I really want to share the news with everybody. I found it's really hard, actually, to share the wealth or share the knowledge with people you already know, or even my joint venture partners. They see that we're different now, or we reach certain financial goals. They like our lifestyle. At the same time, I'm not able to tell them every single thing. And now there's trust your talent. So if you're already in the community, share the wealth. And there's a very, very good referral program if you don't have a strategy coach yet, or have your friends talk to the strategy coach. And if they haven't done any of that, or you haven't shared the information, come to our networking event. This year, we're gonna do things very differently. I know we still have a lot of free online events. However, I do want to see your faces, and so do the team. If you're in Toronto, reach out, and I'm sure I'm going to see you pretty soon. And if you're in Calgary, if you're in Edmonton, if you're in Vancouver, there's no reason why we're not going to network with everybody right now. So take down the date. And I do want to see everybody in the workshop if you haven't been to a workshop yet. So Keith, have you been to a workshop? You can just give me a nod.
Yeah, I did the one in Vancouver, your annual conference.
Oh, perfect. You're really, really new. Christoph, you've been to a workshop?
No, I just got my login, my orientation yesterday, so I'm pretty new.
Ah, okay. So which city are you in?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Oh my goodness. That's so cool. Maybe we'll see you guys in Florida one day. We should really do that. We do have students in Florida as well. So if you're already in, take a picture of it, have the opportunity to share with other people. By the way, I'm going to hold a few more free seminars. So these are the dates. Today, you're here, 0 to 10 properties in 2 years. And the second one, which is going to be Thursday, it's about creative financing. I mean, really, this is about financial education. I'm really passionate about money. Not because I'm greedy, by the way, because I really want to share the wealth. And ultimately is what money brings to you. It's really not counting money. It's not. And it's not even counting how many properties you have. If you have 1 or 2 properties, or 3 or 4, perhaps you don't want to have 10. Or perhaps you think you can scale beyond 10 properties. Go ahead and do that. However, make sure you reach your financial freedom goal. And this is the year you're going to focus on a certain area that you want to focus on. We already mentioned joy, impact, health, fulfillment. What are you really looking for? I highlighted financial goal because that's what I'm here to help you with. At the same time, everything else has to be there to provide a balance. I know that sometimes we need to be healthy for everything else to work. And I'm not just talking about physical health, also mental and spiritual, etc. No judgment. You could be believing in different religions. It doesn't really matter. I think everybody could do this. I think most of us here have a very different background. It doesn't really matter. And even if you just want to focus on health, I'm pretty sure everything else will also come in focus and help you reach your financial goal. You realize that so far we talked a lot about mindset, because really, if you can just go in there, buy properties, you don't really need me. I do want you to see that there are so many different things at play. And a little bit about myself. By the way, my son is already in university. So I changed my slides because you're always pivoting. Why did I get into so many different strategies? Because we're constantly pivoting and your goals might be different. At first, I thought, okay, I do want to replace my income because I want to see that it works. And actually, a very, very strong goal for me is to be an example for my kids. I stayed at home for 10 years, so they knew me pretty well. At the same time, I want to show them possibilities. And my kid is old enough now. I do see a lot of things that I'm proud of him. I'm really proud of him because he excelled in a lot of different areas. And I don't mean that, I mean, being Asian, of course, you're thinking we have to have straight A's, not just A's, actually A pluses. Well, actually, that's not what I'm really proud of. I'm proud of how kind they are, how courageous they are. And I think one of the financial goals I have is actually for them to see that they don't have to worry about money. I showed you there's so many different aspects in life. I really have to focus on health because I think I don't work out enough. And that's one thing, because fortunate enough, I'm generally pretty healthy, no allergies, etc. However, I do see that as I'm getting older, this is something I want to focus on. So when I started my real estate journey, I wanted to focus on lease auction because I want to have enough passive income. And partly because I mentioned that, yes, I want to show them you could do it. And my goal of writing a book, actually, I wrote my book with my son because he wrote another book as well. His goal is really not to make money or even publish it, even though he did, just to see that it could be done. And some adults are holding an idea for 10 years, and we've seen that, not having their book published. My goal was just to show him that follow the process, it could be done. So if you want another financial freedom book, here you go. And I'm showing you a house here because my goal was to afford a bigger house. And of course, it is my financial goal. However, it doesn't matter what your goals are. When I started investing, my goal was to fly back to Taiwan every year and not feel financially stressed. Back then, it was $6,000 to fly the whole family back home, well, back to where I'm from. However, right now, it's $3,000 per person. Inflation! And I do want to show you that it doesn't matter what the number is. You just have to work differently. That's all. I started when I was 40. If you're in your 30s, and you have more time, you're not tied down as a parent, perhaps you want to run a little bit faster, then you can be more active. I'm showing you a house, how I use this as an example, financial goal again. If you are looking for a house with another, say for example, $100,000 of purchase price, if that's your goal, make another $500 monthly so you can afford the mortgage. I'm just giving you an example. Make that your goal. If you wanted to travel, say $6,000 to bring your family to Europe, to Mexico, wherever you want to go, then make that your goal. Make another $6,000. By the way, if you just started at Trust Your Talent, make your goal to get your tuition back. Whatever you invested, that could be your goal. That could be your first-year goal, two-year goal. By the way, everybody's different. If you don't have the time to devote every resource, everything you have, then perhaps stretch it a little bit. Perhaps your financial freedom goal is to reach $6,000 per month in 2 years. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just showing you the possibilities. And there's so many different strategies. Today, I'm going to show you how you scale from 0 to 10 properties with distressed properties as your strategy. Again, there's so many different strategies out there. You might use different strategies together. You're your own power team, by the way. Perhaps you know how to run the numbers for distressed property or lease option. Or a lot of students right now are taking multi-unit residential course right now, or income property. So you can see that how you can use creative financing, for example, to get a multi-unit residential deal done, depending on what resources you have. I can tell you from what I see, people have to get really creative these days because financing is a little tricky right now. So I cannot give you one answer to say, just ask for a mortgage broker's help and get 80% loan to value. It doesn't happen that way. If you get 60% loan to value, what are you going to do? There's so many different creative ways to get into different strategies. So again, we're going to talk about different strategies. It all starts from you, your goal, what you want to do, what strategies you want to focus on. It's actually really exciting. I can tell you it didn't take me, well, it took me quite some time. I didn't reach my financial goal that quickly. Even when I decided to write my book, I didn't reach my financial freedom goal yet. So I knew I wanted to write a book. I didn't have a title yet. So if you put things out there, it might happen. And I thought if I didn't reach my financial goal, I really love real estate investing. I want to share the message. If I didn't reach my goal, I feel like I'm a hypocrite or imposter syndrome, etc. However, if you set your goal, you pivot, you constantly pivot. And my goal was to have my book published or complete in 10 months, so it could be published in a year. Same thing with your financial goals. And if you have a health goal, physical goal to lose like 5 pounds, whatever it is, really that depends on you. Start from you. You can have different income, portfolio income, earned income, passive income. When we talk about distressed properties, you can fix a property, then sell it. That's fix and flip. Or if it's an income property, you can hold it for a while. Then reappraise the property, see if you can get money out of it. Use that money to invest in different projects, in other projects as well. So portfolio income, or if some of you are taking paper asset class right now, is make money in the buy. A lot of it is equity. So make money in the buy, for example, in distressed property situation, buy a property below market value. Or if you can force appreciate, again, control, see what you can do with the resources you have. There's so many different strategies. See what the order is right now. It starts from you. Then you pick the type of income you want to accumulate in your portfolio. There's nothing wrong with looking at different strategies and accumulate different wealth, different buckets of income. However, then you have to make some sacrifices and make sure, again, try to reach your goal. Aim for your goal. So after you go through all that, portfolio, look at what your portfolio income, your earned income. By the way, any of you are still working? I'm working here right now, spending my time with you. Okay. So if you're trading time for money, that's earned income. And if you're fixing and flipping or looking for opportunities out there, knock on doors, drive for dollars, that's earned income. Passive income, for example, cash flow from a rental property. So if you're in Florida, if you're in bigger cities, it's really hard to cash flow or have passive income when you have a rental property with just one or two. Or in bigger cities, even if you have a property with 3 or 4 units, sometimes it's hard to cash flow. Perhaps you don't have passive income. Then you can look at how you're going to structure your deal. How can you generate more passive income? So I'm going to talk about lease option in the upcoming free seminars. Today, we're going to focus on distressed property. After you decided on what buckets of income you're going to focus on, then look at the strategy. S, strategy, market. What's P? The last one, I'm going to ask a seasoned student, John, what is P? So strategy, market, what's the last P?
Property.
Property, yeah, thank you. A lot of people, and I have to admit, even when I started investing or before I knew what investing is really about, I look at properties and it's really fun to just go on MLS or Zillow or House Sigma to just look at properties. However, that's not how you should do it. Don't go PMS, go S&P and take a step back. Look at what your own personal goals are. And it could be short-term rental, long-term rental in Florida. A lot of people are doing that as well. And that's a different strategy that we talk about at Trust Your Talent. By the way, we don't just say Airbnb because that's a platform. We talk about service accommodation. It could be executive rentals, student rentals, rooming housing, or short-term rentals. And if I'm not making a difference in your life, raise your hand. Let me know how I can improve. I'm strong enough by now. I can take advice or comments. So reach out to me. I'm pretty open and I love to hear what you have to say. However, this is pretty much how we go by and design our courses. If I'm not making a difference in your life, if I'm telling you or teaching you something you already heard, and if you're already a seasoned investor, if there's one thing, if there's already just even one thing that you want to write down, then I'm happy. You're learning something new. I'm also sometimes reading my own book and learn something new myself because that's what I thought at that point in time. And motivation, funny enough, not a lot of people pick motivation as what they want to get today out of the seminar. Motivation is like showering. You have to shower every day or surround yourself with people in the community to remind yourself why you're here. Yes, we all need to be reminded. So by the way, I do want to share with you, we do want to help you reach your financial freedom goal within 2 to 5 years. Create financial independence, one person at a time. So as you know, we only take on so many students at a time because you get a mentor, you get one-on-one, because that's how we create financial freedom, one person at a time. Core values, again, is out there for you to remember. If this is what you need to get your level to the next level, I can tell you this year, I do think I want to focus on fulfillment and impact. And by the way, anybody under 30 in the group? Okay, that's totally fine. You look like you might be. That's why I want to make sure and ask you first. So for some people, when they're really young, perhaps they have okay. So Asbury raised his hand, even though his camera is not on, or it could be a her. I'm sorry. Or it doesn't really matter these days. However, if you're young or you haven't had a lot of life experiences or accumulated a lot of capital, this is a strategy for you. You can fix and flip, create capital so you can buy and hold to create wealth. By the way, a lot of the times, if you're like me, when I started, I want to create cash flow. Accumulating capital wasn't my goal. So if that's the case, if you're at a point you have enough resources to create cash flow and buy and hold to create wealth, go ahead and do that. Anybody have read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Okay, if you haven't, it's a really easy read. And this is not my concept. So in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's telling you that you want to be a business owner, investor, in order to have passive income. If you're an employee, if you have your own business, actually a lot of people are actually buying a job when they own a business. Gradually move yourself to business owner, investor. And that's what we're teaching here. I'm not against people working, because if that's how you contribute to the society, that's how you find fulfillment, perfectly fine. Or if you're actively creating capital. So again, the difference between the right side and the left side is that if you're sick, if you want to travel, spend more time with your little ones, you could. As simple as that. So if you haven't written anything down, I hope you have, or at least 1 or 2 sentences resonate with you. Write this down. Distressed property or even income property. Number 1, make money in the buy. By the way, if you cannot find a property that's awfully cheap, then force appreciate. You're taking control. And multiple exit strategy. When we started your Trust Your Talent, we want a student to focus. So we say 2 by 2, learn about 2 different strategies and 2 different exit strategies. However, with the market changing every day, now we're saying 3 by 3. You have to know 3 different strategies and find 3 or more exit strategies for every deal you get into, okay? And I think that's also why a lot of people who are, for example, when I started, it's really, really common for investors who convert a single family home to a 2 unit. We call it suited or duplex, depending on where you are. And for people who are focusing on that one specific strategy, a lot of them are stuck. or they're purchasing property at a higher and higher price because everybody saw the opportunity. Then they don't know how to exit. I'm just giving you an example, and that's why you want to see what exit strategies are out there. And if you haven't had a goal yet, remember health, mental, physical, however you want to structure your vision or goal. This is how I look at my financial goal. Short term, you fix and flip. Actually, wholesale is also flipping. It's flipping paper. So if you buy and sell quickly, that's a short-term strategy. Midterm, LO, if you don't know what it is, LO lease option or service accommodation. When you're joint venture with somebody else, in lease option situation, that's often the case, or even a lot of income properties, a multi-unit. When you're joint venture with somebody else, so JV stands for joint venture. If you joint venture with somebody else, it's usually midterm strategy. Midterm meaning 2 to 5 years. And that is our goal, to help you reach your financial freedom goal in 2 to 5 years. And for long term, so infill, if you're building something from ground up, that's why we consider it as a more advanced strategy. So if you're building, that might take a little bit longer. Look at it as a long-term strategy. What do I put down? Cash flowing income property. Really, if you have a property that's not cash flowing, that's not an income property. Or think about how you can make it cash flow. Perhaps add another unit, perhaps improve it. So that's what we're going to talk about in distressed property as a strategy. By the way, today I only have an hour and a half to 2 hours. There are many advanced courses. I'm going to talk about distressed property. I'm going to talk a little bit about multi-unit. And you have to understand how to use different tools in your tool belt to get the deals done. And this is an example of a property that looks like that. I know that when I see properties like that, before I knew about investment, before I knew the secret, that's stressful to look at. Let's face it. And it's very rewarding to fix it up and make it look like that. The lower picture out here. So if you, by the way, write this down, this is something I also learned after I invested in a few properties. When it's property first, by the way, it still has to help you reach your financial goal. When it's property first, you always find opportunities to force appreciate, to add value to it. It doesn't have to be in an extensive renovation. And you proactively add values to it. Sometimes just painting the properties or changing a few things. And by the way, a lot of new investors are asking me, where can I find a property that only requires a minor renovation? So as long as you add value to the property, you can, what we call force appreciation. The difference between force and market. So I know a lot of us are already property owners. Have you seen your property price go up without you doing anything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is market appreciation. Sometimes it's called natural appreciation. And we're talking about taking control. So really, this is about force appreciation. If you are speculating, speculation leads to liquidation. And by the way, again, we're problem solvers. If you see people who are in a situation where they have to get out or they're stressed out, that is your opportunity. At the same time, I'm not asking you to take advantage of other people. Find a way to find a win-win. So usually as investors with so many strategies or tools in your tool belt, you can find a way to help everybody find a win-win situation. So let's use a simple example. Assuming that you purchase a property that looks like that before it's renovated, the upper picture. If you can purchase at $200,000 and put in $70,000 to renovate. So basically $270,000 is what you need to put in. However, by the way, I simplify the numbers. I know you're going to have questions. And yes, there might be other numbers involved. For the purpose of learning, let's use simple numbers. If renovation is going to cost you $70,000 to make it look like that, and if you have to put in landscaping, surprisingly, landscaping could really increase the value of the property. I've seen people not doing a great job of doing that. And it's really important. First impression matters. So in this example, if you have to put in money to renovate and landscape, assume that this is how much you need to put in. So in total, you need to put in $295,000. What if I tell you you can renovate the place in 4 months? So let's just run through the number with me. And you can ask me where it is, blah, 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 where can I find deals like that, etc. later. And we're going to go through market evaluation as well and market research. So this is how much you're going to make in 4 months. Who want to get into a deal like that? And there are still deals like that. There are. Thank you, Christoph, for the hand up. I get a little worried if, as an investor, you don't want to do that. So remember that $70,000 and $25,000 renovation and landscaping. By the way, if you haven't learned about balance transfer, I'm giving you an example of balance transfer. So these are the ones that are currently available. And I just got an offer from the Red Bank too. So reach out to me or other strategy coaches as to how you can get free money. What if I tell you I already have $70,000 to renovate and I have the down payment or the purchase, how much I need to close the property, but I need $25,000 to finish landscaping. By the way, that's a real deal that I had. I'm not using the actual pictures. So in this example, just go through the numbers with me. I just want you to see the possibility. And I actually made 10, 12%, lending out $25,000. Those are my very, very early private lending deals. And I did it with people in the community that I trust. So remember that we can profit from this deal, $140,000. What if I don't have the $25,000? And I'm gonna borrow $70,000, $25,000 for 4 months. And I'm willing to offer 12%. By the way, you can take out your calculator. I love to use 12% because that makes the number really easy and simple. So in that case, and there's only cost, what we call balance transfer fees. Other than that, that's it. It's not out of your own pocket. It's not out of your own pocket. What if you're paying 12% to your investor, $70,000, $25,000, and it's only 12 months? By the way, I use 12% because it's easily converted to monthly payment of $700 and $250. So far, so good with the numbers. Again, this is supposed to be simple. So if I make it too complicated, I will make changes. Because I know you're going to bring in your friends. Some of you are already seasoned investors or educated investor. Or investors being educated right now. So if you don't have $70,000 or $25,000 for 4 months, wouldn't you be willing to share the wealth? Pay $3,800 for an investor. That's what it is about. Thank you, Christoph. Thanks again for the hands up. So there you go. My point is, even though you have to pay 12%, and that sounds like a lot, if you're a flipper and opportunities are out there, I would do this any day. This is truly passive. If you have $70,000 and $25,000 to lend out. By the way, one of them is one of the properties I owned. The other one, another instructor on the team. So I'm sharing the pictures with you because I think it looks scary if you're new. And one of my tenants actually had marriage issues and they didn't get along. By the time they left garbage. So one of the pictures there is the garbage they left behind. That was during COVID. I really had problems finding people coming to the property and clean it up. And the city garbage collection stopped as well, or they limit to once a month instead. Anyways, we found ways, paid people to take it out privately. So from the garbage you saw to a property that we could flip. I didn't want to flip the property, by the way. Again, we constantly pivot. Lease option was supposed to be my midterm strategy. These properties are supposed to be something I hold long term. but I sold the property as flips instead because I realized it didn't help me reach my goal. So again, money in the buy, that's number one goal. So I want to give you some example as to how you do some market research to decide on which market to get into. So active market, by the way, I asked already, nobody is a realtor right now. How do we decide if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market? Anybody bought a property before? Even if it's your home? Perfect. How can you tell if it's a buyer's? Thank you, Christoph. How do you know if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market? Just throw me an answer, Donna.
The price, the value of the home.
Mm-hmm. So when you purchased your home, did you put in conditions, financing, inspection?
Mm-hmm.
You did. Okay. When the market was really hot, anybody purchased properties when the market was really hot, get into bidding wars? Nobody. Perfect. Keith, thank you for the honesty.
It was back in Ireland in 2006, so it was a very hot market before the bottom fell out of it 2 years later.
Oh, that was before 2009.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. It was like the market was so hot in Ireland, they were given like 100% interest only mortgages, which I got. And then
Nice.
then it collapsed about 2 years later.
Because the reason I brought it up, even before I give you the numbers, usually some people try to quantify what is going on in the market. Even before I give you what we usually call buyers or sellers market, you can sense it. When the market is hot, you have to close quickly. You get into bidding wars, and there's not enough. It feels like there's not enough properties on the market. So usually some of the indicator, and these are some of the basic data I will look at. The GDP, if there is employment in the area, schools, if you're parents, one of the best indicator is how good the schools are. Parents would try to get a property in that area. If you're flipping, it's easier to flip as well. So schools is something I look at because I'm a parent. And when I purchase a home, I look at the school area. Even though now I do believe that self-education is more important, regardless. So one thing to look at if you want to quantify it is if it's listed on the market for more than 30 days. If more than 30 days is the buyer's market. So you can put in conditions like, I want to go through inspection. I want to go through financing. I want to see if I can get good insurance. So a lot of the times people look at how many days on market. There are few things people do, at least in Canada or some of the markets I invest in. What they do is they take it off market. Then they put it in the market again. So it looks like the listing is less than 30 days. So there are a few things that people are doing to make it seem a little bit more attractive when it comes to listing. So Sam, I think you just logged in. Have your camera on. If you can't, mute yourself. And when you do want to participate, mute yourself. One thing I mentioned is that service accommodation at Trust Your Talent also include student rentals. And perhaps in Florida as well. I've seen that throughout the North American market. A lot of the towns in North America are college towns. So I'm just pointing out, that's what I look at. These universities, some of the best in Canada, are situated where the housing market is really hot. So you can collect data similarly as to what's the average household income in that area. By the way, when I look at US data, it's even easier to get the data because in Canada, there's a lot of privacy restrictions. In the US, when I look at the data, when I look at the area, I could even find my friend in the area and find out which phone companies my friend is with and how many tickets they have. It's crazy what you can find in the States. Anyways, just out there, something you might want to think about, and you might want to see how you can scale and use the information. I do want you to see that I'm using 200,000. A lot of the times, people in different markets are asking me, how can you find something for 200 and flip it? Or if I show an example of $1 million, some people are thinking, that's too expensive. I don't want to get into them. I don't want to get into the deal. And really, it's invested in yourself. It doesn't matter how much it's going to cost you. If you're focusing on real estate as your main strategy, it's just numbers. It's just numbers. You're not going to get a coupon. However, there are ways to find deals and find money in the buy. It's really not about how much it costs you. So I love this example. Bear with me. And by the way, any of you handy in the group? You do little things here and there in the house, even just for fun? No? Keith. Okay, so we know who we're going to go to. I don't even do a great job painting my own house. And it's perfectly fine if you're great and you can do it faster and more efficient. However, your goal is to be able to be the investor. You're going to be the driver of your own ship because you're going to decide which year you're going to get into. So I'm just going to give you numbers. There's always a reason behind the numbers. If you can do it yourself, you can make a profit of $35,000 in profit. Do a 3-month flip. So times 4, that's how much you can make per year. Perhaps it is part-time basis, not full-time effort. And if you can find a deal, 3 months, devote your time, make it a full-time job, 22 working days per month, 8 hours a day. I'm just giving you the answer. That's basically how much you make per hour. Let's see if we can find somebody else to do it. By the way, it's really important to find a contractor you can trust and control the cost. If you can hire it out and you can find a good contractor, if you can make $15,000, if that's it, versus $35,000 per deal, because now you're focusing on looking for a deal. If that's the case, you can basically do 1 deal per month. Just 1 deal per month. That sounds like a lot, but in January, we're on the 9th day of January, look for a deal. And perhaps you don't find a deal in January, but you find 3 deals in February. Let's assume 1 deal per month on average. And even if you don't make as much, this is how much money is coming into you per hour. Does that make sense? If you're trading your time for money, you're going to limit your ability to make money. By the way, when you're looking for deals, you're not sitting there all the time. You're supposed to look at a deal. By the time you've seen 100 deals, I can tell you my first lease option deal, I talked to 100 people. Probably 10 will work, and then finally I got 1. And as I expand, I actually don't have a marketing effort anymore. I pay really good wholesale fee. I don't make as much. At the same time, I don't have marketing expenses and I can scale a lot faster. So similarly, if you're hiring out, think about how much time you're going to save and really how much it's going to help you. So I'm going to share a clip with you. I just want to emphasize again, like Keith said, you want to spend time with your kid and how important it is. I don't know if any of you have seen that clip before. Has anybody? John? Yeah, that really resonated with me when I saw the clip. And I do want to share with you. And any of you have kids here? I know some of you do. Yeah, Keith, you just shared. So even if you don't have kids and you want to pass your wealth to somebody else, and by the end of your training and by the end when you started to take action, you're going to accumulate some wealth. And to have a business that's long-term, do it ethically, because there's a lot of people not doing it ethically. I can tell you, I recently have to close quite a few lease option deals, rent-to-owns. It got so much harder because there are people out there, they're not doing it right. So the lenders now, I can understand that. They're being careful and they want to make sure people could really qualify. And you don't just do 1 or 2 deals. Really, you're going to do a lot of deals. And my goal here is for you to efficiently use your time. So leverage our time. By the way, I mentioned it took me 4 years to reach financial freedom. And I can see the students doing it in 2 years. And some of them have done it within a year. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. I'm just saying that if you leverage my time, and same thing, Tim and Ray are our mentors. And if you do it, follow the path, supposedly whatever we accumulated can help you run a little bit faster and save your time. And I do want you to see opportunities. That's the whole thing. It sounds like it's common sense. However, not everybody is doing it. When it comes to distressed properties, it's not just properties that look awful. It could be distressed owners. By the way, it's really about distressed owners because people who own properties looking like that, they're distressed. They don't want to deal with tenants. Or a lot of the time, look at the old guy. Actually, a lot of people who want to pass down their properties to their kids. What if they don't want them? And a lot of people, a lot of the younger generation taking over the property, they don't want to deal with it. I actually seen a lot of them. Or they have 2 or 3 siblings fighting to gain control. What's the easiest way to sell it? And you're helping them to deal with a problem, not taking advantage. And this is how you find opportunities. Keywords, if you're looking on MLS or even a wholesaler's mailing list, handyman special, original owner, cozy, or flipper screen, or make it your home, price to sell, open to negotiation, as is. So if you go to IKEA, not saying that I always go there promoting anybody. However, when you see the word as is, that usually means you can find a deal. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what that limitation could be. They could make it sound really attractive. 1-car garage, perhaps you can convert it to 2. Really, it's not that hard to find opportunity. Can everybody see which house you will purchase? Anybody have problems spotting the property you want to get? And the neighborhood. Hillary, which house would you want to get?
I would want the second to the right.
Yes. And you can see that everybody in the neighborhood has renovated or rebuilt. So you can see that the opportunity is there. The demand is there. So when you spot a property like that, by the way, we always say drive for dollars. Even though there's no sales sign in front of the property, knock on the door. Understand why they are the last one left. Perhaps you can close quickly. Okay, before you drive for dollars, before I give you all the answers, can somebody tell me what questions you might ask when you see a property like that? When you see a property like that. I'm just gonna ask a couple people. John, what question you might ask the seller when you knock on their door?
Since you put it up, how long have you owned the property?
Okay. Okay, that property over there.
The next question, what are your intentions on, like, how long are you going to stay there? Like, if they're an elderly couple, maybe they're looking to leave soon.
Nice. Okay, that's a good one. Christoph, are you able to mute yourself, or are you still at work? Don't worry.
Oh yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
I'm good. I don't know what I asked them, to be honest with you.
Okay, totally fine. Appreciate the honesty. How long you've been in the property, and if you don't know the neighborhood. By the way, a lot of the times you don't have to ask that question if you already done a little bit of market research. However, I want you to see that behind every question, there's an intention. Everything we do, there's an intention. I have to remind myself of that sometimes. So if you don't understand what VTBs are, what it means that if they live there for quite some time, they might have accumulated some equity, meaning there's some natural appreciation or the market has gone up quite a lot. So perhaps they're willing to provide financing. And we'll talk about vendor take back or seller financing. That's what we call it in the States in a more advanced class, meaning that perhaps they don't need the money right away. They already have some equity in the property. So what do you like the most? And one of the example I can give you is one of my best friends, they got a really nice family home. They didn't offer the most money. However, they understand that it's a neighborhood that's tailored to families, and they love the neighborhood. They didn't want to leave. The owners were just old. So by understanding what their emotional attachment is, they want a family to grow in the community. So same thing. Schools, neighborhoods. And when you ask for information on what repairs do you plan to do, don't worry, sell it to me as is. Then get a discount. A lot of the times, actually do not like the owners fixing the property and sell it to me. You want to be able to, again, take control. And simple question, why? Again, intention. Why do you want to sell? Or perhaps if you just drive for dollars, spotted the property, you can ask them any reason you might not want to leave and stay in the property, might not want to live in the property. For property like what I showed you, a lot of the times people are getting old. The property I showed you, they owned it since the 50s, and the property was built in the 40s. The owner lived there till recently. She's still okay. However, she intended to move to retirement home. So again, you're solving other people's problems. I want you to see that it doesn't have to be one answer that fits all. Again, multiple exit strategy. You can buy and sell for profit, and you don't even have to close the property. When we talk about wholesale, you can just flip the property to somebody else. What that means is, perhaps, for example, somebody agrees to sell the property to you. You can sell that right to somebody else and make a profit. That's basically it. It could be a flip. You can sell it for profit, or you can hold it long term. Or you can convert the property to rooming, housing, student rental, Airbnb. Lease option, by the way, at Trust Your Talent, we always speak about tenant first lease options. Potentially, if you already have a property, you can turn it into lease option or street name rent to own. Okay, I can see that people are starting to have questions. Any questions? Because I haven't got a chance to check the chat box. Is there any question right now that's going to stop you or make you so confused from going forward at this point? I just want to make sure. Oh, good. Yes? Okay.
Is BRRR.
Ah, perfect. Anybody want to explain what BRRR are? John, since you have adapted that strategy.
Starting to pick on me here. So buy, renovate, refinance, rinse and repeat.
There you go. There could be even more R's.
There could be more R's too, yes.
I know.
And so one thing that I did notice on Ryan's video last night, which reminded me, take before and afters, because a property that you actually do a burr on, you might not recognize it after you did it, because the changes are so much. All right, so the before and afters are huge.
That's a good one.
Give yourself the pat on the back afterwards, like, yeah, we actually did that, right? Whether it's yourself or your partner and yourself, or
yeah,
your construction team or whatever, right? And that's buying like the distressed property and making it look pretty.
So John, give yourself a pat on the back.
Yep.
There you go. So if this is your first time to look through the numbers, I'm just going to quickly run through it. I don't expect you to understand it completely and be able to verse as an investor yet. You can reach out to your strategy coaches and grab the slides or take a screenshot. So in Canada, usually it's 20% down payment if it's a single family home. I know some of you are taking multifamily right now. So let's use simple numbers. If you PP, purchase price, if you purchase a property at 441, 80% mortgage, that means you don't have to save up that money. You're leveraging OPM, the bank's money, at 80%. However, you do have to have the down payment ready. So assuming that you have the down payment, renovation cost, if you don't have an investor and you happen to have money available, closing costs usually means the lawyer fee, etc., etc. So different market could be different closing costs. I'm just giving you simple numbers. Run through the numbers. Holding costs, meaning that perhaps while you're renovating, you're not able to rent it out yet. So there's the cost of holding the property out of your pocket, and perhaps you're not able to compensate the mortgage with rent. So that's basically while you're holding the property to renovate. Let's use simple numbers. Everything I highlight in green is what you have to take out of your own pocket, by the way. So the total cost of the property is the purchase price plus everything else. The renovation cost, the closing cost, the holding cost. So besides the value of the property. So everything I highlight in green is what you have to put out of your own pocket. So funds in, that's how much funds you have to put in the project. 88, 89 plus 1010. That's how much you have to put in. If you can sell the property at 750. By the way, this is an actual deal I had. I didn't put out the actual pictures. And I just round off the numbers. If you can sell it at 750. So the total profit is pretty simple. 750 minus the total cost. The total cost is everything I underlined. So if you're not familiar with the numbers, remember that whatever is highlighted in green is what you have to put out. Whatever is underlined, that's your cost. So if you can sell it for 750 minus all the cost, your profit is $200,000. You doubled your money. Can everybody see that? You doubled your money. Okay, so that's a quick and simple flip. So let's look at BRRRR. By the way, same idea. It could be a single family home. It could be a 2 or 3 unit. It could be 5 unit and up. And I know some of you haven't taken the courses yet. If you haven't taken income property or creative financing, when it comes to financing, when it's under 4 units, it's usually considered as residential. When it's 5 units and more, that's commercial. So you might think it's all multifamily. However, financially, that's how it's defined. So there's your BRRRR. And you can see that every step along the way, money in the buy, forced appreciation, exit strategy. These are the 3 things I asked you to write down. So let's quickly run through the number. If you don't sell it, if you just get a new mortgage, same numbers. So the total cost again is $550. You put in 197, numbers highlighted in green. And you don't want to sell it. You want to refinance it. That's the other R in the BRRRR. You want to refinance it and it's evaluated or the bank appraised it at 750. So I use the same number. Again, you have $200,000 out of the deal. You paid off the mortgage, you got a new mortgage. However, your investment of 197 is taking all of the deal. That's how you scale to another property. That's how you scale to another property. Again, you didn't put any of your own funds in the deal anymore. You paid yourself back after making a profit, or hold on, you haven't sold it yet. So money out is whatever you refinanced. So you take that money out. So you can take that money out and invest in another property. So money in, money out, asset for free, income for life. So you still own that property. If you continue the process, you can get another property. Any questions so far? So far, we're running through the numbers. It's okay if you're not familiar with it yet. Hillary.
How do you calculate the renovation costs? And in your experience, how accurate have your estimates been before you made the deal?
People say you should account for 10% of an emergency fund. Depends on the city, because sometimes the permit would take longer, the holding cost would be higher.
But
So-
the renovation costs themselves. So if you have a distressed property and you have no construction background, how do you calculate, how do you get that $79,000 number? And how accurate has that been in your experience when you make that calculation before the purchase?
It's never accurate. So safely, we say 10% more. At the same time, sometimes you knock down the wall, there's something behind it. So again, make sure you have resources available. It doesn't have to be coming from you. And when you get into the market, it's better to have money in the buy. So whatever that money in the buy is, that's your room, plus the profit you want to make.
Do you have specific, I don't know, consultants that you would bring to the property, and do you hire them to evaluate what the construction costs would be to make the renovation, or what does that process usually look like, just to get the estimate?
That's a good question. Again, it's your power team. So I would get 3 quotes from different contractors. Then you will start to have some idea. Same thing when you speak to other investors, they kind of give you an idea of what their experiences are. At the same time, the costs constantly go up, especially if it's in the market people already know about. Then the contractors got busier, and there, as long as room, economic 101, supply and demand. When there's room, it's going to be pushed to equilibrium. So you constantly have to be really creative. So let's say, for example, 79,000, there are contractors out there working with investors. They'll tell you it's an all-inclusive cost. I've worked with contractors like that. Yes, it is all-inclusive. At the same time, like I said, make sure you have a little bit of buffer. What if you want to upgrade a little bit? No matter how inclusive it is, there's always something. There's always something a little bit. So in that case, budget 10%. I can share, you can ask for the workflow, the quotes, etc. to make sure you're nothing is 100%. So as long as you have contingency funds and it's making sense.
That makes sense. And do you go through this process before you buy a property? So when you're considering whether to make an offer, you would usually come visit the property at least those 3 or more times with the contractors before you even make an offer?
Good question. Yeah, we do cover that in distressed property. So one of the things we do is in your purchase agreement, ask for more visits and get the permission to apply for permits even before closing. So that shortens your closing time. Your holding cost. Yeah, it's things like that. And even before you start to look for properties, sometimes we do is you go to the city, see how long it takes and how investor friendly they are, how quickly are the permits gonna be approved. So COVID threw everything off. However, if you've gone through that, you're pretty resilient to go through different situations. So that not just apply, good question, that doesn't just apply to single family homes. So like what John did, you're converting, you're adding units, but I'm showing you a picture of multifamily. Same thing, you're doing the same thing, just different ways of looking at financing. Okay, there's pros and cons. It doesn't mean it's more difficult. I'm not here to give you the whole course. However, I want you to understand the basics. And the good thing about, so say for example, I'm giving you an example of single family homes. And now we're getting into multi-unit. Like I mentioned, it has to be 5 units and up. Some exceptions, blah, blah, blah. Blanket mortgage, we're going to talk about that in advanced class. However, when you get to commercial mortgage, it doesn't matter how much you make, your working income. When you're looking at single family homes, you're thinking, okay, when I presented that example, a lot of people are saying, Brooke, with my income, I can only qualify for 1 mortgage. Even if I get the refinancing money out, I have down payment, I'm not going to qualify for another mortgage. So that's the limitation. At the same time, when you get into commercial mortgage, it's different. You don't have to base it on your personal income. So you look at it differently. Okay. So I show you an example of a multifamily, same idea. It's just that they don't base it on, by the way, Anybody qualify for a mortgage recently for your home or single family home? It's okay if you haven't. So Christoph, you know that they base it on your income, your down payment, your credit score. It's all you, right? If it's a rental property, they will look at comparable income. However, there's something called, they only consider, depending on the lender, they only consider part of it. Christoph, anything you want to add?
Yeah, like another option I have down here, and it's like I think it's called like a DSCR loan. So it doesn't matter like your credit score or whatnot, but they'll look at, okay, they'll evaluate what would be like the rental potential of the property, and then they would do a loan based on that. So
more
you just piece it down.
example. By the way, when you consider debt ratio, when we say income, that's just very general. They don't consider income, they consider your ability to pay. So that also depends on what debt you have, even though in general we say they look at your income, but really your income and other debts you have and your ability to pay the debt. Same thing with DCR when it comes to commercial. So 2 numbers when you're looking at commercial property. Today, I'm only covering 1 because I want you to see how distressed property can help you scale and expand your wealth. That's my goal here, but it's very important, debt coverage ratio when it comes to commercial. And sometimes if you have, even when you are qualifying for single family homes, you can use your company to qualify. You can use other incomes, etc. However, that's not a regular residential, but there are many products out there. Sometimes out there, sometimes last year I taught the class in September. Whatever I taught immediately changed in October. So things are always different. And that's why you want to stay in the community. I'll quickly go through cap rate. I don't expect you to understand everything at this point, especially if you're already in the class or you haven't taken the class. When it comes to commercial property, you hear people say cap rate. This is for property that's 5 units and up. Sometimes when it's a 5 unit, you can find lenders. Sometimes they still can consider residential, etc. However, just in general, there's a lot of exceptions always in real estate. That's why you need the mindset and you need the community, you need the support. When it comes to cap rate, that's how the property is evaluated at. How do we know how much mortgage the lender is going to give you? They call it underwriting. So even though you think this is what's going to happen to your building, in commercial, there's so many different variables. However, cap rate is really important. That's how you get refinancing. That's how they evaluate the value of your property. So let's just look at the equation on the right. Cap rate is net operating income, NOI. Revenue minus expenses, net operating income. Whatever revenue, whatever expenses, but make a note, it doesn't include debt servicing expenses. It doesn't include your mortgage. It's basically only the performance of the building. So again, the good thing about commercial is it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much you make. It's the building, how much money it generates, what's the expenses before mortgage. So that's what cap rate is about. Net operating income divided by the cap. Every market has a different cap rate. So the lender would have an idea what cap rate they should use to calculate. So that's how you decide on the value. And how is cap rate calculated? Net operating income divided by the value of the property. Or if you move the formula around, you want to see what the value of the property is, net operating income divided by the cap rate. Okay? That's it. That's all you need so far to see how you can scale. If the property I showed you is evaluated or purchase price $540, your net operating income, revenue minus expenses, is $27,000. By the way, if it's a multifamily, assuming it's a 5 unit, I think you can improve the performance of the property. So again, force appreciation. You can improve the property. We always say you don't just increase the rent. I trust you're telling you improve the property, you provide a better property to generate better income. So if in this market, the cap rate is 5% in this particular market, how do we calculate the market value? So net operating income divided by the cap rate. That's it. Can somebody quickly, if you have a phone, 27,000 divided by 5%. If you're not familiar with it, I just want you to see how the number works. That's all. Do you get 540,000, 27,000 divided by 5%? Follow the formula. Perfect. What if you can improve the property? What if you can generate better revenue? So a lot of the times, perhaps you provide storage. You charge a little bit extra every month. Or you add a unit. That's what a lot of people do when it comes to multifamily. You add a unit, or if it's a 1-bedroom unit, it's big enough, you can make it a 2-bedroom unit and increase the rent. What if you can improve the property? Now your net operating income is 37,000. Can somebody calculate? Same number, 37,000. What is the property value right now? 37,000, divide that by 5%. What is the property value?
740.
Yes, 740. So just by doing that, you basically improved your wealth by $200,000. That's it. It could be adding in a laundry. It could be adding in a vending machine. It could be improving the property. So that's the power of real estate. Are you excited about this yet? Yes. So again, there's a lot of moving parts in it. That's why you're taking the advanced training. Fundamentals are there. That's how you improve the wealth. Actually, this is it. That's the map. That's the map of distressed property. That's your GPS. Everything I talked about, follow the map right here. Distressed property, I talked about your goal, S&P. If you're an existing student, I want you to be even more educated, be inspired, and have some fun. And John, thank you for contributing because you shared your experience with BRRRR, for example. Money in the buy. If you haven't learned anything, these 3 things are really important. Money in the buy. So how to create money in the buy. Multiple exit strategy. By the way, if you're not educated, people don't see the opportunity. You're not going to see how you can force appreciate it. And you're not going to see how you can find multiple exit strategy. I already showed you can flip it, you can refinance it, or perhaps you don't have to do any of that. If you can hold it long term and generate cash flow every month. So that's it. That's the map. Again, I show you the graph there. I want you to personally grow as a person. Mindset is really important. And I love that this is the first one of the year of 2024. Multiple exit strategy. If you're not handy, if you're like me, hammers and screwdrivers, they might be weapons. They might be more dangerous to you than anything else. Again, it doesn't matter. Then hire somebody else to do it if you're not handy. If you don't have the resources, learn how to joint venture, how to creatively find a way to finance your deal. Again, everything else is ROI mindset. Anybody not having a strategy coach in this group? I think all of you do. Okay, perfect. Okay, I see your hand up. Take a picture of the QR code and make sure you book your next call. And I do want to see you next weekend at the workshop. So the event is from the 19th of January. And the networking event is going to be on the Saturday. We're all going to be there. By the way, if you're in Florida, feel free to come to the cold. And we do have other seminars you could join. I'm going to talk about various strategies. The fundamentals are the same. Always find your goals, especially at the beginning of the year. So the upcoming events, if you're not here in Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. So Donna, we might see you in Vancouver, April.
For sure.
Perfect. And take a picture of the calendar if you do intend to join other seminars. And bring your friend. Please bring your friend, because the only thing you have to invest in when you join the free seminars, the webinars with me, is your time. That is all. And your energy. So this is our community is actually growing. We have so many pictures to share. And Donna, you were there. John, you were there. Clement, you were there. I know you've been with me the whole webinar. You just don't have your camera on. And this is the newest clip. I do want to share with you how I was like when Donna and John was there. Thank you, everybody. I know that there's still a few questions in the chat. So if I didn't have a chance to address your questions, I'm going to stay here as long as you have questions. Anybody with more questions? Or if you haven't had dinner and you do want to log off, completely understand. John.
So one thing that I was thinking of as we were talking tonight, and as we drive through the country, there's a lot of farm properties where they basically turn the property into cash crop land, and there's the house that's falling down and the barn that's falling down. Is there a way that, like, how would you approach that property owner to say, you know what, like, why don't we sever 4 or 5 acres or 2 or 3 acres, whatever that particular township or county requires, and why don't we build a house there? Or, you know, can we build a multifamily there if it's close enough to a small town or something like that? How would you approach that?
Personally, I would probably reach out to the city first. And if you start to do your market research, you'll know the zoning, right? You know the zoning, see if that's encouraged or if there's precedent.
I'm assuming it's already a zoned agricultural, so it'd be a rezone, and that county or township would have to be open to rezoning it.
Yeah, so if you're the first one, that's going to be a little bit tougher. And another thing is sometimes the city service doesn't go there, or there's different city service. A farm property versus a residential property. So that's something you're going to look at. It might increase the cost. You're talking about an infill project, or you just want to sever the land and sell it?
Well, and would it be like the cost effectiveness of it? Like, would it be cost effective to sever it off and build a nice house there?
And if you want to,
you'd probably be running on a well and a septic system, depending on how far out of the country it is, right?
Yeah, depending on how far out there. So in Ontario, because there's quite a lot, and you don't even have to go very far to find those. And you have to look at if you sever it, because again, if you're selling it, the more prepared you are, the better price you can sell it for. If you just want to sever in the land, if you have a plan, if you already apply for city service, you're already ahead. And just consider yourself as a buyer. What would you pay more for? So the more steps you've taken closer to getting it ready to build, then the higher wholesale price is supposed to be. Or if it's profitable for you, usually it takes 4 or 5 years. And we're talking about short-term goals. So if you have the resources, I have to say I'm not going to suggest it to everybody because most students want to reach their financial goal in 2 to 5 years. Yeah. However, if you're going to build, you're not going to see anything 2 to 3 years or even 5 years down the road. And if you build enough portfolio to support that, do that. And remember, I showed short-term, mid-term, long-term goal. That might be your long-term goal to build something and have that as your income property. But at the same time, see what your other resources are. Can you afford that? So that's a good idea. If you want it to be a short-term investment, then sever it and have the plans ready. Have an architect, have land survey done. then that's already quite valuable. Then you don't have to wait 5 years.
And I think that would be having the present owner, the farm owner, already severing it and like going through all that before you ever put the purchase in. Like you basically do the commitment, but it's not a full sale until it's rezoned and everything's cleared up with the city or the county, the township.
So that gets a little bit more complicated. So you could have an option to purchase until then the contract would be different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, if you find opportunities like that, I'm sure there's so many different things you can do.
Well, yeah, because I have a buddy that has severed a few properties in and that like the 4 or 5 acres, but because he just wants farmland. So
especially if you're because you're in Kitchener, especially if it's not far from say KWC or somewhere near you.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a good question. It might be a little bit more advanced for some.
Yeah, it's just something I came up with it, and it's like, well, that would work, but there's a lot of different moving parts that we normally don't talk about.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, because if not a lot of people are doing that, you don't have a lot of people that can appraise it or know what's going on, especially when you have to go through the city. They're afraid of something new because they don't want anything to go wrong. So a lot of the times they want your engineer, they want your architect to stamp on it, or they make you jump through hoops to make sure they covered everything. So yeah. Okay, so no more questions about distressed property. So the next one is going to be about private lending and a little bit of creative financing to get you started. By the way, I know some of you are new, and at the same time, we do have students already in the group. Do share the wealth and invite your friends, invite your family to come in. It's more fun to share it, isn't it? Like Donna, you know how that's like within the family.
Yeah.
Yes. And by the way, if that's the case, you're going to hold yourself accountable because you're going to invite people you know. You're going to be accountable as to what you told yourself you were supposed to do. And I did mention vision board in the beginning. If you do want to share your goals with me or with your strategy coaches, make sure you do that. And I do have the slides ready to share if you take action and reach out. If you do want to have a copy of the slides, and I know some of you already took pictures, and that's totally fine too. By the way, I know I don't want to take any more of your time. So reach out to me. I do want to hear what your takeaways are. And I'm open to advice and suggestions and comments. So take care, everybody. Depending where you are, you might still want to have some dinner too.